Hello and a warm welcome back to the garden. In this video I'm going to show you some of the plants we grow in this garden that self-seed freely and provide us with lots and lots of baby plants completely for free. I'm going to start with the well-known Primula vulgaris. So this is a beautiful Primula. It has lovely yellow lemon flowers during the beginning of the year, so beginning of spring, and it's flowering even now as we're approaching into May. Now this is a plant that likes to be usually in a damp condition, so not in full sun but in a damp condition. But actually this plant has been growing on our rockery and this has been in full sun. We get a lot of sun at that portion of the garden and this has been quite happy. That happy in fact that it's produced lots and lots of baby primulas. So in the process of us digging up the rockery, we managed to get a lot of the baby primulas into pots, and this is just one of them. So these were quite tiny to begin with, and already you can see they're making quite nice sized plants. Now there are quite a few plants within this pot, so they will need to be thinned out a little bit, but as you can see it's well worth growing, and it also gives you lots and lots of plants for free. So this is a plant that requires cold stratification in order to self-sow. So what happens is the seeds are dropped during this year, they'll produce seed, they'll drop them over the summertime, and then those seeds will just lie dormant until next spring, and then they will germinate. And that's what's happened here, and we have many plants, absolutely nothing, which is beautiful and wonderful. The next plant I'm going to talk about is Geranium phaeum. So this is a beautiful dark flowered geranium. It has lovely dark small flowers and lovely leaves, lovely big leaves. It grows mainly in a shady condition. That's the kind of preferred conditions it enjoys, and we have it just behind me. Now there is a little offspring, so this does self-seed around a lot, but there is an offspring that I've noticed just growing in between the path, which we're going to eventually dig up and grow on and plant somewhere else in the garden. But this is a beautiful plant. It flowers now, so like the end of April going into May. It's not got a particularly long flowering period, but if you do cut them back after flowering, you can get fresh foliage and for the most part some fresh flowers as well. The next one is one of our favourite grasses, and this is Stipa tenuissima. This has this lovely green grass and these lovely arching flower heads that come out during the summertime. So this is quite a self-seeder. This one self-seeds quite prolifically, and we have lots of little babies around here. So these are a little bit more maturer, but there is one on the other side. Now when these first come up, they just look like a few blades of grass, so they can be mistaken for a weed, so be very careful. If you are growing Stipa tenuissima and you do see ones that look a bit like the one I'm showing you now, they're likely to be the seedlings. When they get a little bit more maturer, this is probably one that we potted on from last year, so now it's getting to a bigger size. But when they first come up, they can be mistaken as grass, so be very careful. But this is a wonderful plant to grow. It will self-seed prolifically, so as long as you're okay with that and you don't mind. The good thing about this one is it's quite a short-lived perennial in terms of perennial lifespan. It'll only grow for maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe up to 5 years. So the fact that it does grow so many new babies is great, because you can be then, it just naturally replaces themselves over time. This is one of our favourite grasses, as I've already said, particularly one of Andrew's favourite grasses. You'll often see him sat where I'm sat now, just absolutely adoring this beautiful grass. Very tactile, and again when the flower plumes come out, they're just a mass of this beautiful plumage. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The next one is the wild strawberry. So we grow these in 2 containers just by the side of the summer house, and we do get quite a lot of self-sown seedlings. Now for some reason we do have a matching pair just on this step. So we have one here, so this is a little baby one which has just found a nice space to self-sow there, but we also have another one in a matching place on the opposite side of the step. So it's almost like it wants to be symmetrical. So we'll eventually dig them out and put them somewhere in containers probably. but it's a lovely plant. It's a very lovely sweet taste. If you've never grown alpine strawberries before, they do taste very different to the ones that you buy from the shop, the normal strawberries. These have a very sweet taste, and they're very, very tiny, but packed with so much goodness and so much beautiful taste. So if you're not growing them, I do suggest you give them a try. They're well recommended. They grow also in shadier parts of the garden, so you don't have to put them in full sun. They will happily grow in part shade, perfectly fine. And like I say, they do self-sow quite a bit, so be prepared for that as well. Next up is Lychnis coronaria. So these are the parent plants just behind me here, and these would have shed the seed last year. So during the autumn time, the seed would have dropped on the ground. It would have gone through a cold period during the winter, and then during the spring, as that warmer weather's come, it's now initiated germination. So we do have quite a lot of babies, and the babies are quite, first of all, you can quite easily tell because they do have those furry leaves that the parent plant has. They look a bit different, they're a bit more greener perhaps than these ones are. These are a bit more grey, but there are quite a few plants all around this geranium roseanne and a bit further into the border as well. So these are going to be taken up and just potted on for the time being. The ones that I actually grew from seed, so that I wanted to make sure that I never lost this plant again, these are now ready for going into our border that we're just creating just to the side. So they're nice size. So I went to all that trouble to make sure that I had new plants, and then nature goes and does it all for me, which is brilliant. So I'll get these out, and these can be the next generation of Lychnis coronaria, maybe even to replace these ones if these end up. Sometimes they end up dying during the winter, sometimes they get a bit rotten with the rain. They're quite a short-lived perennial, but when you see those beautiful magenta flowers, they're absolutely worth it, and it flowers for such a long time. These flower all the way through, probably to the end of maybe September. So you get a long flowering season, and the actual bees and the butterflies really like to come to these. And if you come out during the night time, you'll often see moths pollinating these as well. So they're really worthwhile plants and great for wildlife. And then another one, which is in close proximity to the Lychnis coronaria, is our good old favourite Granny's Bonnet, or Aquilegia vulgaris. So you can see it here. This particular one is a lovely purple. You have these lovely flowers, absolutely fantastic flowers. They're really attractive to pollinators, so you get lots of bees around these kind of plants, and also you get a lot of self-sown seedlings. So we have one here which is just creeping out of this stonework, and this is remarkable. You often get them around the parents, so there'll be lots and lots of self-sown babies within the border as well. But this one has just decided, this little cheeky one has just decided to plant itself right there. It doesn't want to be in the background, it wants to be right there where we can see it. So that's lovely. Really great to grow. These again can tolerate a lot of shade, so great for those kind of awkward spots in the garden. They get to that kind of height, so they get a nice height on them. There are lots and lots of various types of Aquilegias these days. We have tried some of the more fancier ones, like the black barlow and the other types of like the reddish types. Unfortunately, they don't seem to want to stay very long. They usually only grow for 1 year, but these ones, these native ones, the Aquilegia vulgaris, they're just so great. They like the garden, and you know they like the garden when they start to self-seed themselves around. So it's another plant which we're very grateful for having many, many new babies. The next plant I want to talk about is the beautiful red valerian, or Centranthus ruber. So this is a really good plant. We had a really, really big specimen on the rockery, which used to flower its socks off from the end of spring going right through into about September, so a very, very long flowering period. This particular plant likes well-drained soil and a lovely sunny position, and it self-seeds quite readily. So you do have to be careful when the flowers have gone over to deadhead it, otherwise you will end up with it everywhere. We've taken a few babies up that have grown on themselves, so there's 2 plants there which we've managed to recover from the rockery, and there's one here, a little cheeky one, which has decided it wants to grow in the middle of the step, which is not really great because these can grow into quite a large size. So that's going to have to be taken up at some point and moved on into another part of the garden. But it's a beautiful plant, a long flowering season, and it just has the most beautiful red colour, this particular one. You can get it in white, but we like the red one, and it just goes on flowering for months and months and months. It also has the added bonus, even though you can deadhead it as best you can, there's always some that manage to grow and self-seed, which in our case is brilliant. We did try and move the main plant, but unfortunately it's in a container just by the side of me and it's not looking great. When we dug down, a lot of the roots were kind of left in the ground. We weren't able to get the whole root. It grows with really fleshy roots and it's quite widespread. So this is one of the reasons why it can be really good for drought tolerance. It penetrates into the soil and gets to places where the water is, where it needs. But unfortunately, if you're trying to move it as such an established plant, you do have a problem of maybe losing it. We are keeping it at the moment because we do hope it will recover, but at the moment it's looking quite sad. But we do have all of these little babies that is produced from it that we can then put into our new border. So all is not lost. The last one I want to show you is our native foxgloves, or any foxgloves really. So these are Digitalis, and in the bed just behind me, this new bed that we created last year, we planted quite a lot of foxgloves in here when the border was created, and what the intention was to try and get as many foxgloves to self-sow as possible, so this could be a wash with beautiful foxgloves come the springtime. And as you sit in the summer house, you could see those lovely spires shooting up from the ground and providing us with lots and lots of lovely interest. So we've kind of done that on a grand scale because the amount of seedlings that are now popping up in this area is phenomenal. There are so many, and we'll have to maybe thin a few of these out because they will be competing, and naturally some of them will die and only the strongest ones will live. In the process of making the new large border, we had to take up that central border, which was like a thin, long, narrow border, and in there lots and lots of foxgloves have self-seeded. This is one of them, so I managed to rescue this from the border, and this would have been a baby this time last year, and now as you can see it's quite a large size. So whether it will flower this year or not, I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to be showing signs of that flower spike being produced, but we'll both see, maybe it will. So foxgloves are one of the most beautiful plants you can grow, very easy. Again, a kind of plant that's great for a shady area, so a shady border, and these plants are biennial. So these grow from seed this year and they will then flower next year. So it's one of those plants you've got to be patient for, and the way to keep that succession going is making sure that you grow them year in, year out. So just as this year these ones might be flowering, the ones behind me have self-sown, they'll grow up this year and flower next year, just to keep that continuous flow of beautiful flowers. These are absolutely fantastic for wildlife. You can see lots and lots of bees. I love to just sit and watch the bees going into the little booths and going up through the plant, getting all that sweet nectar and pollen. So foxgloves are well worth growing, not just for us, but also for all that wildlife too. I just got all packed up, got myself changed, the weather's got warmer, so now hence why I'm wearing shorts, and then I've just realised I've missed what is growing in this raised bed, and this one is the Calendula, or pot marigold. And we had these in this raised bed here last year. We had 3 different varieties, so it looks like we have a couple of little baby calendulas growing in this lovely little bed here. But this is a fantastic plant. It is a hardy annual, so it can be sown during the autumn and overwintered for the spring, or it can be sown in the spring and it'll start to flower in the summertime. And this flowers quite a long time, quite a long flowering period. There is also lots and lots of different varieties you can get, lots of different colours, ranging from oranges to almost whites, apricots and yellows. So a nice wide colour range. It has the benefit also when you do grow it with your crops. So say for example we were growing these last year with our tomatoes. when you do grow it with things like that are susceptible to aphid infestation, it does help to guard against that infestation. So it's a good kind of companion plant to grow with anything that can be affected by aphids. So they were some of my favourites for plants that self-seed. I do hope you found this video informative and enjoyable. Please hit that like button, please subscribe. Any comments you have, please drop them in the comments box below. We will see you very, very soon on the next video. In the meantime, please do take care.